Good morning. Okay, let's take the arms, let's wrap them around our rib cage. So you have the hands on the sides of the ribs rather than up on the shoulders. And then just take some deep breath into your rib cage. So wherever you can get the hands on the ribs, and just feel the movement that happens as you take those deeper breaths. Just letting the whole rib cage expand. So really notice the sides and the back of the ribs. And have a little shrugging through the shoulders so you get to feel the space all the way from the armpits right down to the hips. Breathe, undulate, make it simple and fluid, don't force, don't strain. You might notice little pockets of holding or tightness. One side might feel tighter than the other. Just a liquid movement, just to begin this opening and expanding and easing of that tightness in the body. And then we'll let the arms release. We can rest the hands on the thighs and we'll close our eyes. So we want to see, can we maintain length through the spine and that sense of sitting up, but at the same time we want to get soft. We want to relax in this position. So let the shoulders soften, the jaw relax, the belly, the eyelids can get heavy. We're breathing through the nose if that's possible. Doesn't matter though either way. And the attention is resting close to the breath. So where are you drawn to instinctively to connect to your breath? Where's the one place that you automatically go to? Is it your nose, your belly, or your chest, or wherever it is? Can your attention be in that space? Can you rest in that space? And I'll say, be with your breath, notice your breath, but of course, particularly as we begin the practice, there's so much else going on for us. You know, we are these complex beings. So we're existing in all these different levels at any given moment. And the invitation is just to be aware of everything. Be aware of the whole gamut of what you're experiencing at the moment. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What are the thoughts? What's the sense of the morning that surrounds you? Just to notice how you're doing. To tune in. And like anything, the more we do this, intentionally just pause and tune in, eventually the easier it gets for us to really know what's happening for us in any given moment. And I think quite often, because so often the tendency for us is to be distracted or, focused on something exterior outside of ourselves, that sometimes we lose track of, how am I doing? What's going on for me? And really, it's in that inquiry that we begin to grow. We begin to master what it is to be in this human predicament, this human condition, with all of its idiosyncrasies, all of its ups and downs, all of its challenges, all of its joys and its sorrows, to really be able to notice what's going on. And in that way, there is a development of this deeper acceptance of ourselves. Because in one sense, if we don't really know what it is that's happening, it's hard for us to allow it. So we just tune in and we notice, how am I doing? And then the breath is the anchor that we continually come back to. And there's never any problem if we lose connection to the breath. It's absolutely part of the practice. So there's no, I've got to get it this way or I should be this way. The trick is for the practice to allow ourselves to be as we are in any given moment. So there's no point in taking on this practice and for becoming another thing that I've got to get right or another thing that I'm getting wrong. It's simply a way of meeting ourselves as we are. It's just creating that space to pause from the doing of our lives, to get a little stiller, and to just notice. And the true wisdom in the practice is being able to meet ourselves with that radical acceptance, that deep allowing that lets us be however we find ourselves, however we are in this moment. And sometimes that includes, well, I wish I was different, or I wish I wasn't feeling this, or whatever the story might be. All of that can be held in a bigger quality of spaciousness, of acceptance. And this is what we call equanimity. And it's deeply rooted in one sense, it's deeply rooted in the rational, in that what we're doing is meeting ourselves as we are in this actual moment and going, okay, this is where I am. So there's a very practical dimension to that. Even if we're aware of being pulled in one direction or being pulled in another direction, and we're continually watering this plant, this part of us that can let us be as we are. And it doesn't mean that we're not interested in growing and at times changing, evolving, learning, but all of that aspirational part of our experience is rooted in this deep quality of acceptance. And another word for acceptance is love. Another word for acceptance is love. So ultimately, the practice is rooted in deep self-love. And in terms of loving in any way that we might think of it in our lives, it begins at home. It begins with learning to love ourselves, the life that is articulating through our particular story, our particular filter. So we're learning to say deeply and truthfully, there's nothing wrong with me. And in the same breath, we might acknowledge that we have neurosis or we have imperfection, whatever it might be, as every human does. You don't become a human or come to this plane without having stuff to work out, stuff to learn. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the deal. That's part of the package. So the attention is with our breath. Really comfortable breath. Inhaling now for 5 and exhaling for 5. Slow, uniform breath. No part forced, strained, rushed. No part pitters out. Just a fluid, comfortable breath. In for 5, out for 5. Stay with your breath. Stay with your breath. Now stay with the deeper breath, but drop the counting. So get closer to the breath as you do this. Just observe it, the nuance of the breath. And then let's bring the breath back to its natural rhythm. And let's bring the hands together in front of the heart. And just focusing on the space of the heart for a few more moments. So much of our practice is building a deeper relationship to parts of ourselves that maybe we haven't traditionally focused on or tuned into. So to actively practice attuning to the heart, to the space, the center of the chest. And the more we practice, like anything, like riding a bicycle, the better we get, the more sensitive we become, the easier for us to perceive more and more deeply. And so much of our experience of being a human being is layered. We get used to working on one layer, and many of us survive on those exterior layers, overly focused on the outer world because it does demand so much of us so often. And these practices are an invitation to drop into deeper and deeper and deeper layers. And that this journey is a journey of, in a sense, coming home to ourselves, but it's very much a journey of freedom. These two really intrinsic qualities of both freedom and love that really define us, define the human condition, either the abundance of or the lack of. So our practice is very much tuning into those qualities within ourselves, that they're there, they're intrinsic to what we are. It's like what we're made of. But in the periphery experience, we can get distracted, confused, disengaged, depressed, anxious, fearful. And the deeper we go, the closer we get to those more profound qualities of ourselves. So may our practice this morning, may it be a process of dropping deeper. Maybe a practice of awakening to that deeper love that resides within ourselves. Beneath those stories of I can't or I shouldn't or I'm this or I'm that, there is a very still, expansive quality of love. It is our essence. To this, to ourselves, to each other, we bow. Great. Good work. Good work. So I think we're on number 42, 43. We're going to go to 50. We're going to go to 50. And then in June, I'm going to start a month training, a month meditation training, and we're basing it on the Yoga Sutras, which are some of the most profound texts that inform yoga, the real yoga, beyond just the physical, the whole philosophical side to it. So we're going to start a month training, and I'll have some information out about that over the next week or so. And you can sign up for that if you wish, and I'll be offering scholarships for it as well for those that need a little bit of support financially. And if you find this is supporting you, then this is another way of going deeper. And the month training we do in June will be live. So we'll do it through Zoom, we'll do it live, and there'll be an interactive component to it as well. So it's a real deepening practice that will help us really, really ground our connection to that deeper, deeper space within ourselves. Um, which, as far as I'm concerned, is our primary job in our lives. And the more we focus on that, the better the rest of the stuff gets, the richer it becomes for us. So I hope you have a think about that and maybe join me. All right. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.